And our word for today on this Friday of the 7th week in Ordinary Time, on this Friday, February 28th, our word for today, our words for today, faithful friend. 2 words because they are both necessary. It's one thing to have a friend. It's a far different thing to have a faithful friend. And that's what is talked about in the book of Sirach today, chapter 6. Let your acquaintances be many, but 1 in 1,000 your confidant. We're going to come back to that because that's an important point. Let your acquaintances be many, but 1 in 1,000 your confidant. When you gain a friend, first test him, and be not ready to trust him. For one sort is a friend when it suits him, but he will not be with you in times of distress. Another is a friend who becomes an enemy and tells of the quarrel to your shame. Another is a friend, a boon companion, who will not be with you when sorrow comes. When things go well, he's your other self and lords it over your servants. But if you are brought low, he turns against you and avoids meeting you. Keep away from your enemies. Be on guard with your friends. A faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He who finds one finds a treasure. A faithful friend is beyond price. No sum can balance his worth. A faithful friend is a life-saving remedy, such as he who fears God finds. For he who fears God behaves accordingly, and his friend will be like himself. A faithful friend, brothers and sisters. But let's begin first at where we started in the book of Sirach, chapter 6. Let your acquaintances be many, but 1 in 1,000 your confidant. Boy, the value of your words, brothers and sisters, the value of your own heart, of your own spirit, and laying that out in front of another person. You've got to trust that person to truly love you in order to lay that kind of information in front of them. One of the difficulties that we find, let's just say that there was an argument between me and my beloved wife, which there would not be. She's so fabulous. But let's just say it happened, and I went to a friend to share about the argument again, which I would not do. But let's just say I do. And I say, oh my goodness, she was so nasty about this, or she was wrong about that. And then 10 minutes later, half hour later that night, I'm at home, my wife and I make up, and everything is great. Well, guess what? My friend still thinks that everything that I just said was true. They weren't part of the making up. They're carrying about that negative information without being able to balance it with what follows between my wife and me. We have to be guarded with our words. I personally just have a policy, an absolute policy, a covenant, that I will never, ever, never in my life, never speak a negative word about my wife to anyone. To anyone. I won't do it. I won't do it because there is no way for me to come back to them later and say, oh, that was in a fit of anger. Oh, that was just because we had a little tiff. No, I only speak positively about the one whom I love, who is my faithful friend, and I want to be a faithful friend to her, that we may all be faithful friends and that we might guard what we speak about one another and what we share with one another. Again, having many acquaintances, but making our counselors few. The Gospel of Mark chapter 10 today, Jesus says, from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. They are no longer two, but one flesh. You want to talk about a faithful friendship, that intimate relationship that God calls us into as spouses. Let us be careful to lift one another up, to encourage one another and build each other up, not only in the way we treat one another when we're with each other, but the way we speak about one another in front of other people, not only husbands and wives, but friends as well, that we might be a faithful friend. Faithful friends, our word for today.